EMA plays a role in stimulating research and innovation in the pharmaceutical sector as part of its public health mandate. This slide summarizes the tools available at the agency throughout the different development phases and the different possibilities to interact with EMA. First of all, a dedicated point of entry for academia was set up to address the needs of medicines developers from the academic sector. It aims to facilitate communications and helps academics navigate the regulatory framework for pharmaceuticals. EMA provides support to early stages of medicines development through a number of tools, including the Innovation Task Force, qualification of novel methodologies, support to SMEs, orphan designations and ATMPS, as well as providing scientific advice and protocol assistance for orphans and priority medicines. And lastly, health technology assessments. The Innovation Task Force is a multidisciplinary group within the EMA that works in cooperation with EMA's working parties. It is a forum for early dialogue with applicants on anything that's innovative. It brings together scientific, legal and regulatory expertise for emerging therapies, novel technologies and borderline products. A growing number of ITF briefing meetings is held with academia, including research consortia, showing that there's quite some interest from those two groups. I also want to mention here the EU Innovation Network. It has been set up to strengthen cooperation between the national innovation offices and the EMA to make the regulatory support for medicines developers that is available at national and EU levels more visible and attractive to innovators. EMA offers scientific advice to support the qualification of innovative development methods. It is a procedure to guide the development of new, more efficient ways to develop drugs, for example, the development of new endpoints for clinical trials. It has been put in place to speed up and optimize drug development and utilization, as well as to improve public health. An opinion can be issued on the acceptability of a specific use of a method in the context of research and development, and a method can apply to non-clinical or clinical studies, such as novel biomarkers. Other examples of novel methodologies that have received a qualification include clinical outcome assessments, such as patient-reported outcomes, imaging markers, symptom scales, animal models, and different statistical methods. This procedure was especially designed for research groups such as consortia, but also networks and public-private partnerships, learned societies and pharmaceutical industry. Around 30 million people in the EU are likely to suffer from a debilitating rare disease. This represents a huge unmet medical need. Patients suffering from rare diseases deserve access to the same quality of medicinal products as other patients within the European Union. Finding effective treatment for those rare diseases can be very difficult. Without incentives, it is unlikely that the marketing of the product would generate sufficient return to justify the necessary investment. European orphan legislation was set up in 2000, offering incentives to encourage companies to research and develop medicines for rare diseases that would otherwise not be developed. To access these incentives, companies can apply for so-called orphan designation for their medicines, provided certain criteria are met. To qualify for orphan designation, a medicine must meet a number of criteria. It must be intended for the treatment, prevention or diagnosis of a disease that is life-threatening or chronically debilitating. The prevalence of the condition in the EU must not be more than 5 in 10,000, or it must be unlikely that marketing of the medicine would generate sufficient returns to justify the investment. And lastly, no satisfactory method of diagnosis, prevention or treatment of the condition concerned can be authorized, or if such a method exists, the medicine must be of significant benefit to those affected by the condition. Several incentives have been put in place for orphan medicinal products. The agency provides a form of scientific advice specifically for orphan medicines called protocol assistance. This allows sponsors to get answers to their questions on the types of studies needed to demonstrate the medicine's quality, benefits and risks, and information on the significant benefit of the medicine. Protocol assistance is available at reduced charge for designated orphan medicines. For academic applicants, all fees have been waived and they get free protocol assistance. There is also a possibility of a parallel advice involving HTA bodies or regulators from FDA. Companies classified as SMEs benefit from further incentives when developing medicines with orphan designation. These include administrative and procedural assistance from the agency's SME office and fee reductions. Furthermore, authorized orphan medicines benefit from 10 years of protection from market competition with similar medicines with similar indications once they are approved. This period of protection is extended by 2 years for medicines that also have complied with an agreed pediatric investigation plan. Furthermore, fee reductions at marketing authorization stage apply. All designated orphan medicines are assessed for marketing authorization centrally in the European Union. This allows companies to make a single application to the European Medicines Agency, resulting in a single opinion and a single decision from the European Commission, valid in all EU member states. EMA can provide advice on the most appropriate way to generate robust evidence on a medicine's benefits and risks. Scientific advice and protocol assistance is particularly useful to medicines developers when they are developing an innovative medicine or when they have limited knowledge about medicines regulations, such as some academic groups and small and medium-sized enterprises. Scientific advice can be provided at any time point of the development, but early advice with subsequent follow-up is recommended. Advice can be provided on any scientific question, and these questions can relate to quality aspects, such as manufacturing and biological testing of the medicine, on non-clinical aspects, such as toxicology and pharmacological testing, the clinical aspects, thinking of selection of endpoints and post-authorization activities, and finally methodological issues, such as statistical testing, modeling, and simulation. Furthermore, advice can be provided on eligibility for accelerated assessments, such as the conditional approval or approval under so-called exceptional circumstances. Protocol assistance is the special form of scientific advice available for developers of designated orphan medicines for rare diseases. In addition to scientific advice, developers of orphans can receive answers to questions relating to the criteria for authorization. These include the demonstration of significant benefits and similarity or clinical superiority of other medicines. This is particularly relevant if other similar orphans exist, which have market exclusivity in the same indication. The PRIME scheme is intended for medicines addressing an unmet medical need and that may offer a major therapeutic advantage over existing treatments or benefit patients with no treatment options. It aims to foster development of new human medicines with major public health interest and facilitate their timely access to patients. Any sponsor engaged in the exploratory clinical trial phase of development can submit a request to enter the PRIME scheme. Applicants from the academic sector and SMEs may submit a request at earlier stages of development. Applications can then be done on the basis of compelling non-clinical data and tolerability data from initial clinical trials. There is a high interest from SMEs developers for PRIME designation. Almost 50% of products in the PRIME scheme are from SMEs, but only few SMEs were granted early entry into this scheme. The success rate of applications of PRIME for SMEs is around 20%. And the fields most represented are many rare diseases and ATMPS, and mainly in the field of oncology, hematology, neurology, and infectious diseases. For academia, there were only 4 requests received since the launch, but so far no PRIME eligibility was granted. As an incentive to encourage the development of advanced therapies, applicants can request certification and classification of their advanced therapeutic. For the certification procedure, an applicant can submit the results of studies carried out to demonstrate the quality and non-quality safety of ATMPs at any stage of the development, and then request evaluation and certification of the data. This procedure aims to identify any potential issues early on, so that these can be addressed prior to the submission of marketing authorization application. Additionally, companies can consult the EMA to determine whether a medicine they are developing is an ATMP. The procedure allows them to receive confirmation that a medicine which is based on genes, cells or tissues meets the scientific criteria for defining an ATMP. In 2020, the Committee of Advanced Therapies received 74 requests for ATMP classification and adopted 87 recommendations, an increase of 30% compared to 2019. These figures confirm an upward trend since 2017 and indicate a strong pipeline for the development of ATMPs in the future. I would like to wrap up now with some final tips and recommendations for SMEs and academia in particular. First tip is to look for guidance. The EMA website is full of information. For example, when developing a medicine, it can be interesting to have a look at the European Public Assessment reports of already authorized products to get useful information on regulatory and scientific aspects. There are many available guidance documents available, and a great source is, for example, the comprehensive SME user guide. Specific support is available for academics and SMEs, and in order to benefit from this support and incentives, it's important to apply and qualify for SME academia status. Specific fee incentives apply for these entities and for orphan designated products. Furthermore, regulatory assistance and briefing meetings are available to SMEs and academia. Very important final message is to come early and to come often to EMA and make use of regulatory and scientific support that is available at EMA, because it will minimize the most frequent hurdles and maximize your chances of success.